What happens when a lighthearted daytime talk show turns into one of the most uncomfortable moments in television history? Noah Schnapp, the Stranger Things star, beloved by millions, sat down with Kelly Clarkson, expecting a typical promotional interview. Instead, what unfolded was a clash so intense that it ended with Noah removing his microphone and walking off set, leaving Kelly speechless and the audience in stunned silence. This isn't just another celebrity interview gone wrong. This is about what happens when two completely different perspectives collide on live television, and neither side is willing to back down. Before we dive into exactly what was said that made Noah leave, make sure you're subscribed to the channel and drop a comment below telling me whose side you're on after hearing this whole story. The interview started the way most Kelly Clarkson Show interviews do, warm and welcoming. Kelly has built her reputation on being one of the most genuine hosts in daytime television, someone who makes guests feel comfortable and creates an atmosphere where real conversations can happen. Noah walked onto the stage to massive applause from the studio audience, many of whom were clearly fans of Stranger Things. He smiled, waved, and settled into the chair across from Kelly with the ease of someone who has done hundreds of interviews before. At just 20 years old, Noah has been in the entertainment industry since he was a child, and he knows how these things typically go. Kelly opened with her signature enthusiasm, thanking Noah for coming on the show and immediately diving into questions about Stranger Things. She asked about the final season, about his character Will Byers, and about what it has been like growing up on one of the biggest shows in the world. Noah answered thoughtfully, sharing behind-the-scenes stories and expressing gratitude for the experience. The audience laughed at his anecdotes, and everything seemed perfectly normal. This was exactly the kind of content that makes for good daytime television, light, entertaining, and focused on a project that millions of people care about. But then, Kelly shifted gears. She does this sometimes, moving from softball questions to something more substantial, something that gets at who the person really is beyond their famous role. It is part of what makes her show different from other talk shows. She doesn't just stick to the pre-approved talking points. She wants to have real conversations, even if they get a little uncomfortable. And that is exactly what happened here. Kelly brought up Noah's social media presence, specifically his activity over the past couple of years. She mentioned that he has been very vocal about certain political issues and current events, using his platform to share his opinions with his millions of followers. At first, this seemed like it could go in any number of directions. Plenty of young celebrities are politically active on social media, and it is usually framed as a positive thing, using your platform for good, speaking up about what you believe in, all of that. But Kelly's tone suggested she was going somewhere specific with this. She leaned forward slightly, her expression becoming more serious, and said that she wanted to talk about some of the controversy that has surrounded Noah recently. She mentioned that he has received both support and criticism for his posts, and that some people feel he has been insensitive or hasn't fully understood the complexity of the issues he is commenting on. She framed it as wanting to give him a chance to explain his perspective, to help people understand where he is coming from. Noah's body language changed immediately. The relaxed, friendly demeanor he had maintained throughout the first part of the interview disappeared. His jaw tightened, and he sat up straighter in his chair. You could see him processing what Kelly had just said, trying to figure out how to respond. The audience, which had been so energetic and engaged moments before, went quiet. Everyone could sense that the tone of the interview had shifted into something else entirely. Noah took a breath and said that he appreciated Kelly wanting to have a real conversation, but he felt like the way she framed the question was already coming from a place of assumption. He said that calling his posts controversial was a characterization he didn't agree with, and that the criticism he has received has often come from people who misunderstand his intentions or who are unwilling to hear a perspective that differs from their own. He was careful with his words, but there was an edge to his voice that made it clear he was not happy with where this was going. Kelly responded by saying she wasn't trying to attack him or mischaracterize anything. She said she was simply acknowledging that his posts have generated significant discussion and that many people, including some of his fans, have expressed concern about the things he has said online. She mentioned that as someone with such a large platform, particularly among young people, he has a responsibility to be thoughtful about the messages he sends. She said it with the kind of tone that suggests she thinks she is being reasonable and fair, giving him a chance to clarify rather than condemning him outright. But Noah clearly didn't see it that way. He said that he is always thoughtful about what he posts, and that just because people disagree with him doesn't mean he has been irresponsible. He pointed out that Kelly herself has opinions that not everyone agrees with, and that having a platform doesn't mean you have to stay silent on things that matter to you just because it might make some people uncomfortable. He said that the idea that young people with opinions need to be more careful than anyone else felt condescending to him, like people assume he hasn't thought things through just because of his age. The tension in the studio was palpable now. This was no longer a friendly chat between a host and her guest. This was a debate, and neither of them seemed willing to concede any ground. Kelly maintained her composure, but you could see that she was taken aback by Noah's directness. She is used to controlling the flow of her interviews, and this was quickly moving beyond her control. Kelly tried to clarify, saying that she wasn't suggesting he should stay silent, only that he should consider the impact of his words. She brought up specific examples, referencing posts where Noah had shared his views on international conflicts and social issues. She said that some of those posts had been interpreted as one-sided or lacking nuance, and that people who are directly affected by those issues had expressed hurt and frustration. She asked him if he could understand why people might feel that way. Noah's response was immediate and firm. He said that of course he understands that people have different perspectives, but that doesn't mean his perspective is invalid or that he should be expected to apologize for having it. He said that the issues Kelly was referring to are incredibly complex, and that no single social media post is going to capture every dimension of them. He said he shares what he believes based on the information he has and the values he holds, and that he is constantly learning and evolving, but he is not going to pretend to be neutral on things he cares deeply about just to avoid criticism. Kelly pressed further. She said that it is not about being neutral, it is about being empathetic and recognizing that words have power. She mentioned that some of the communities that have been critical of his posts are communities that have historically been marginalized, and that their concerns deserve to be taken seriously. She said that listening to criticism and being willing to reflect on it is part of growth, and that dismissing people's hurt as just disagreement felt like it was missing the point. This is where things really started to escalate. Noah said that he has listened to criticism, and that he has engaged with people who disagree with him in good faith. But he said that what Kelly was doing right now felt less like a conversation and more like an interrogation. He said that she invited him on the show under the pretense of talking about stranger things, and now she was putting him on trial for his personal beliefs on live television. He said it felt like a setup, and that if she had issues with his social media activity, she should have been upfront about wanting to address it before he agreed to come on the show. Kelly's expression hardened. She said that everything they discuss on her show is fair game, and that Noah is a public figure who has chosen to be vocal about controversial topics. She said that if he is going to use his platform to speak on these issues, he should be prepared to defend his positions and to engage with people who see things differently. She said that this is what accountability looks like, and that refusing to engage with it is exactly the problem. Noah shook his head. He said that there is a difference between accountability and ambush, and that this felt like the latter. He said that Kelly was framing the conversation in a way that assumed he was in the wrong from the start, and that no matter what he said, it would be twisted into evidence that he is insensitive or ignorant. He said that he came on the show in good faith, and that this was not the conversation he signed up for. The audience was completely silent now. Some people looked uncomfortable, others looked riveted. This was not what anyone expected when they came to see a taping of the Kelly Clarkson Show. Kelly, for her part, seemed to be deciding how to proceed. She could have backed off, changed the subject, and tried to salvage the rest of the interview, but she didn't. Kelly leaned back in her chair and said that she understood Noah felt blindsided, but that this is part of being in the public eye. She said that when you put your opinions out there for millions of people to see, you have to be willing to talk about them in contexts that might not always be comfortable. She said that her show is a place where real conversations happen, and that sometimes those conversations are challenging. She said she wasn't attacking him, she was giving him an opportunity to explain himself to people who might not understand where he is coming from. Noah let out a laugh, but it wasn't a laugh of amusement. It was the kind of laugh that comes from frustration and disbelief. He said that framing this as an opportunity was manipulative, because the entire setup of the conversation assumed he owed people an explanation or an apology. He said that Kelly kept using words like accountability and responsibility, but what she really seemed to want was for him to admit he was wrong and say whatever would make the criticism go away. He said he wasn't going to do that, because he doesn't believe he has done anything wrong. Kelly's voice took on a sharper edge. She said that refusing to even consider that you might have hurt people or made a mistake is exactly the kind of attitude that perpetuates harm. She said that it is possible to have good intentions and still cause pain, and that part of being a mature, thoughtful person is recognizing that and being willing to do better. She said that Noah seemed more interested in defending himself than in actually listening to the people who have been hurt by his words. Noah's eyes narrowed. He said that Kelly was making a lot of assumptions about what he has and hasn't listened to, and that just because he hasn't responded in the way she thinks he should doesn't mean he hasn't thought deeply about these issues. He said that the hurt Kelly was referring to is not universal, that there are plenty of people who share his perspective and who feel strongly about the same things he does. He said that acting like one group's feelings should automatically override his right to express his beliefs is not fairness, it is silencing. Kelly interrupted him. She said that no one is trying to silence him, and that claiming to be silenced while sitting on a television show with a massive audience is not exactly a compelling argument. She said that what people are asking for is not silence, but thoughtfulness and humility. She said that Noah's defensiveness was making it seem like he cares more about being right than about the impact of his words. Noah's face flushed. He said that Kelly was doing exactly what he just accused her of, twisting his words to make him look bad. He said that he never claimed he was being silenced in some absolute sense, but that there is a clear effort to pressure him into either changing his views or shutting up about them. He said that being challenged is one thing, but being told that expressing your beliefs is inherently harmful unless you frame them in a way that appeases everyone is something else entirely. Kelly said that free expression doesn't mean freedom from consequences. She said that Noah can say whatever he wants, but other people also have the right to respond, to criticize, and to hold him accountable for his words. She said that if he can't handle that, then maybe he should reconsider how he uses his platform. She said it with a bluntness that seemed to surprise even her, like she hadn't quite meant to be that direct but couldn't take it back now. The audience stirred. A few people gasped quietly. This had gone far beyond a standard interview disagreement. Kelly and Noah were locked in a battle of wills, each one convinced they were in the right and unwilling to give the other an inch. The cameras were still rolling, capturing every second of this exchange, and everyone in the studio seemed to be holding their breath, waiting to see what would happen next. Noah stared at Kelly for a long moment. When he finally spoke, his voice was low and controlled, but you could hear the anger underneath it. He said that telling someone they should reconsider using their platform because they won't fall in line with a particular narrative is exactly the kind of thing that shuts down real dialogue. He said that Kelly talks about wanting honest conversations, But what she really wants is for people to agree with her or to apologize for not agreeing with her. Kelly's jaw tightened. She said that she has had plenty of conversations on her show with people who have very different views from her own, and that those conversations have been productive and respectful. She said the difference is that those people came into the conversation with an openness to listen and to engage, not with a defensive attitude that treats any criticism as an attack. Noah said that he has learned a lot over the past few years and that he continues to educate himself on the issues he cares about. But he said that learning and growing doesn't mean abandoning your principles every time someone tells you that you are wrong. He said that some of the criticism he has received has been valid and has made him think more carefully about how he communicates, but a lot of it has been bad faith attempts to discredit him because people don't like his conclusions. Kelly said that his unwillingness to engage with the substance of people's concerns made it hard to have this conversation. She said that every time she brought up a specific issue, Noah deflected by talking about free speech or bad faith criticism instead of actually addressing the point. She said that if he couldn't see why people found some of his posts hurtful or irresponsible, then maybe he wasn't as thoughtful about this as he claimed to be. Noah's voice rose slightly. He said that he had addressed the points, but that Kelly kept reframing his answers as deflection because they weren't the answers she wanted. He said that she kept insisting that certain groups of people had been hurt by his posts, but she never actually explained what specifically he said that was so harmful or why his perspective should be considered less valid than anyone else's. Kelly said that she had mentioned specific examples earlier, referring back to the posts about international conflicts and social issues. She said that those posts had been criticized for being reductive, for failing to acknowledge the experiences of people who are directly affected by those conflicts. She said that Noah's response to that criticism has been to double down rather than to listen, and that is what people find so frustrating. Noah said that he has listened, and that he simply disagrees with the characterization of his posts as reductive or harmful. He said that the issues Kelly was talking about are matters of intense debate, and that there is no single correct narrative that everyone is obligated to follow. He said that his posts reflect his understanding of those issues based on his research and his values, and that he is not going to apologize for having a point of view just because it doesn't align with what Kelly thinks is acceptable. Kelly said that it is not about having a point of view. It is about how you express that point of view and whether you are willing to consider that you might be missing something. She said that Noah's insistence that he has done nothing wrong and that all criticism of him is either misguided or in bad faith suggested a lack of self-awareness. Noah said that he is perfectly capable of admitting when he is wrong, but that he is not wrong about this. He said that Kelly was essentially asking him to confess to wrongdoing that he doesn't believe he committed. He said that if people are hurt by his posts, he is sorry they feel that way, but he is not sorry for posting them. He said that there is a difference between those two things. Kelly's expression shifted. She looked almost incredulous. She said that saying you are sorry people feel hurt but not sorry for the thing that hurt them is not an apology, it is a dismissal. She said that it is the kind of non-apology that people give when they want credit for being remorseful without actually taking responsibility. Noah's hands gripped the armrests of his chair. He said that he wasn't trying to give a non-apology, he was trying to be honest. He said that he understands that people have feelings and that those feelings are real, but that their feelings don't dictate what is true or what he is allowed to say. He said that if Kelly wanted him to lie and say he regrets his posts when he doesn't, just to make this interview easier, then she was asking him to compromise his integrity. Kelly said that integrity doesn't mean never being wrong, and that what Noah was calling integrity looked a lot more like stubbornness. She said that the fact that he couldn't even entertain the possibility that he might have made a mistake suggested that this conversation was pointless. She said that she had hoped they could have a real dialogue, but that Noah seemed more interested in defending his ego than in actually engaging with the issues. Noah stood up, not quickly or dramatically, but deliberately. He reached for the microphone clipped to his shirt and started to unhook it. Kelly stopped mid-sentence, her eyes widening slightly. The audience collectively inhaled. Noah looked directly at her and said that this was never going to be a real dialogue, because Kelly had already made up her mind about him before he even sat down. He said that she invited him here to make a point, not to have a conversation, and that he wasn't going to sit here and be lectured about integrity by someone who was being fundamentally dishonest about what this interview was supposed to be. Kelly found her voice. She said that nothing about this was an ambush, and that Noah's social media presence is part of who he is as a public figure. She said that if he wants to be taken seriously as someone who engages with important issues, then he needs to be willing to defend those positions when challenged, not run away the moment someone pushes back. Noah finished unhooking his microphone and held it in his hand. He said that there is a difference between being challenged and being set up. He said that Kelly framed every single one of his responses as evidence of his supposed failings, no matter what he actually said. He said that when someone decides in advance that you are wrong, that is not a challenge, that is a performance. Kelly's face reddened. She said that she asked him reasonable questions about things he himself chose to post publicly, and that his reaction told everyone watching exactly what they needed to know about his willingness to be accountable. She said that walking away doesn't make him right. It makes him look like someone who can't handle being questioned. Noah took a step back from his chair. He said that this wasn't questioning, it was prosecution. He said that Kelly positioned herself as judge and jury, and that no answer he gave was ever going to satisfy her. He said the point was to put him in a position where he either had to renounce his beliefs or be framed as stubborn and insensitive. Kelly leaned forward, her voice rising. She said that Noah was making this about her when it should be about the people his posts have affected. She said that he kept talking about his beliefs and his integrity, but he hadn't once acknowledged the harm that his words have caused. She said that his refusal to do so wasn't brave, it was selfish. Noah's expression hardened. He said that Kelly didn't get to decide what is harmful on behalf of entire communities. He said that she was using the language of harm as a weapon to shut down perspectives she doesn't like. He said that he has had conversations with people who appreciate his willingness to speak openly, and that their voices matter just as much. Kelly shook her head. She said that Noah was cherry-picking support to avoid dealing with legitimate concerns, and that this conversation had made it clear he wasn't interested in growth or understanding. Noah said that Kelly came into this conversation with her mind made up too. He said that she talks about growth and understanding, but what she really means is that he should grow into agreeing with her. Kelly stood up from her chair, matching Noah's posture. She said that she gave him every opportunity to explain himself, to show some humility. She said that instead, he spent the entire time being defensive and acting like a victim. Noah's voice was calm but cutting. He said that calling someone defensive when they refuse to accept blame for something they didn't do is a tactic designed to make them seem unreasonable. He said that Kelly wanted him to perform contrition for her audience, and when he wouldn't, she accused him of being close-minded. Kelly said that if he wanted to walk off, then fine, but he shouldn't expect people to see this as anything other than someone who can't handle accountability running away. Noah placed his microphone on the chair. He said that he hoped Kelly's audience would watch this back and see it for what it really was. A host using her platform to corner a guest, and then blaming that guest for not being cooperative enough. Kelly said that the issue is whether he is willing to take responsibility for the consequences of his public statements, and that his answer, clearly, is no. Noah said that he would rather be honest and face criticism than be dishonest and receive praise. He said that they were never going to agree, and that continuing to talk in circles wasn't productive. Kelly said that it could have been productive if Noah had come into it with an open mind. Noah said that Kelly's disappointment was not his responsibility to fix. He said that he stands by what he has said. The tension in the studio was unbearable. The audience sat frozen. Kelly and Noah stood facing each other, neither willing to back down. Kelly said that she hoped he would take some time to reflect on this conversation. Noah didn't respond. He simply nodded once, and then turned and walked toward the edge of the stage. Kelly called after him, saying his name, but Noah didn't stop. He kept walking, past the cameras, past the crew members, and toward the exit. The audience watched in silence. Then, slowly, a few people started to clap. The applause was scattered and uncertain, and it died out quickly. Kelly stood alone on the stage, her expression a mixture of frustration and disbelief. She looked at the camera and said that they would take a quick break. The camera cut away, and the interview was over. What you just witnessed was one of the most intense moments in daytime television history. Two people with fundamentally different perspectives clashed, and neither was willing to give an inch. Noah walked off because he felt ambushed and disrespected, while Kelly felt that Noah was refusing to take accountability. This interview raises questions about what we expect from public figures and whether genuine dialogue is even possible when both sides have already decided the other is wrong. Noah believed he was being set up. Kelly believed she was asking reasonable questions, and that Noah's defensiveness proved her point. Subscribe to the channel if you haven't already, and drop a comment below answering this question. Do you think Noah was right to walk off, or should he have stayed and continued the conversation? Let me know where you stand.